Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into what is probably the biggest anxiety of our age, why artificial intelligence is never going to replace the true human creator. We keep hearing this same narrative, right? That AI has somehow woken up, that it's suddenly this independent artist. But when you actually look under the hood at the cold, hard mechanics of computation, and then match that up with the legal realities of copyright, a completely different story emerges. And it's a story where you remain absolutely central.
Here's our cognitive map for today. We'll start by unpacking the AI creator myth, venture into the deterministic machine reality, and then cross the semiotic bridge. After that, we'll cover the return of the sweat, what it means to be standing at the gate, and finally, why you are the undeniable painter in all of this.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, the AI creator myth, and start dismantling this idea of the neo-god.
So we really have to ask ourselves, when you type a prompt in a Midjourney or ChatGPT, is that machine genuinely creating, or is it merely recombining existing data? Think of AI essentially as a digital scripter. Sure, it's an incredibly sophisticated vessel that ingests massive databases and mixes up pre-existing language, but it totally lacks the actual spark of true origination. Philosopher Hannah Arendt hit the nail on the head here. She points out that true authorship requires praxis. Basically, that means an active, engaged doing that is tied directly to lived experience. It requires biological friction, societal context, emotional resonance. An AI, it doesn't feel joy or grief or the sheer physical struggle of staring down a blank page. It fundamentally lacks that inner drive you actually need to express a human thought. Moving on to section 2, let's take a look at the deterministic machine reality happening right inside the silicon. There is just a stark, fundamental contrast between us and the machine. On one side, you've got human cognition, what we can call OS alpha. It's warm, it's highly associative, beautifully messy, and incredibly fluid. But on the exact opposite side, we have the computer's hardware, specifically the arithmetic logic unit, or ALU. And that is incredibly cold, rigid, and demands absolute deterministic exactness. The machine literally only does exactly what it's told to do, executing commands through discrete electrical voltages. There's no magic there. Because of this massive divide, AI is essentially just a babblefish. It's a mechanical translator. It blindly orchestrates mathematical meaning, mapping discrete tokens across continuous vector spaces. What that means is, it translates your English prompt into Python code or pixel data without actually understanding a single word of it. You are the source. The AI is simply the translator, mechanically predicting the very next token. Which brings us perfectly to section 3, crossing the semiotic bridge, where we'll see how text serves as our universal interface.
So how do we actually connect the two? Text acts as our semiotic bridge. This strictly formatted text, this sort of divine script we use, safely compiles all your wild, messy, associative human imagination into exact, deterministic, physical actions. It translates our continuous, flowing thoughts into the rigid, discrete instructions the silicon processor absolutely requires to execute anything at all.
And you know, we've actually always used strict text to force the machine's hand. It's not new. Just look at Donald Knuth's genius text typesetting system from way back in the 1970s. Knuth built a brilliant boxes and glue model to bend the physical page to exact human intent. Text proves that complex, Turing-complete text macros are the ultimate way to enforce human will onto an automated layout. So this whole idea isn't some brand new AI phenomenon. We've been using text to strictly command the machine for decades.
Now let's head into section 4, return of the sweat, and look at how we battle algorithmic distortion.
You know when you have to re-roll a prompt 20 times because the hands look weird or the code is just totally buggy? Well, that mathematical degradation is what we call algorithmic distortion. Because the machine is effectively just guessing how to render your prompt, your human input, your protortion, is absolutely required. Protortion is your proactive, sweating, agentic intent. It's you carefully mapping your vision onto reality with high fidelity and actively intervening to correct those random, bizarre distortions so you keep your hands firmly on that creative steering wheel.
And this elegantly explains why the historic sweat of the brow copyright doctrine is actually being resurrected right now. Historically, this doctrine valued sheer physical labor. But today, because the AI mechanism completely lacks agency of its own, courts are actively looking for rigorous, painstaking human effort. We're talking thousands of prompt iterations, meticulous parameter adjustments. That sweat of the brow is the ultimate proxy to prove actual human control over the final output.
To put that into perspective, our sources reveal that even a mere 5%, just a thin sliver of essential, original human direction embedded in an AI output, can actually be enough to secure full copyright protection. It's wild, but if you provide that crucial, load-bearing human effort, you get to claim authorship of the derivative work.
Okay, let's transition to Section 5, standing at the gate, and discuss the heavy legal realities of liability and agentic tort.
See, because the AI is just a deterministic tool, it literally cannot hold legal liability. When you apply your intent, when you stand at that sovereign gate and command the machine using your textual script, you are committing what's called an agentic tort. You are explicitly bending its execution to your will, and that means you bear the total, heavy legal responsibility for the outcomes of those commands.
This leads to a somewhat terrifying but brilliant concept known as the moral crumple zone. Just like the front of a car is specifically designed to crush on impact to protect the passengers, tech companies intentionally design complex systems with humans in the loop to act as shields. When the algorithm inevitably crashes or causes harm, the human operator absorbs the legal and systemic impact. Make no mistake about it, if you aren't rigorously piloting the machine, you are merely acting as its moral crumple zone.
Finally, let's tie it all together in Section 6, the undeniable painter, and chart the evolution of authorship. The concept of the author has actually always been evolving. I mean, we started out as anonymous scribes in ancient times, relying on collective mediation. Then, the 18th century invented the whole myth of the solitary romantic genius, struck by divine inspiration. But today, we've evolved into something entirely new. We are algorithmic orchestrators. We no longer originate every single pixel or word by hand. Instead, we strategically manage the incredibly powerful systems that do.
And this defines our brand new reality. The machine acts as the digital scripter. It does the tedious technical rendering and the mechanical execution. But you, the human pilot, you provide the overarching rhetorical strategy, the emotional intent born of lived experience, and the continuous guidance. The AI is simply the brush, while you remain the undeniable painter. Modern regulators understand this reality clearly. As recent legal precedents point out, while prompts reflect a mental conception, they simply do not control how the idea is ultimately expressed. The machine is doing the technical execution. So without your continuous human intervention, without the sweat of your brow, the machine takes over the expression entirely. There is no authorship without your sustained physical and mental friction steering the output. So I'll leave you with this final provocative thought based on our whole analysis today. As we enter this agentic era surrounded by these incredibly powerful algorithms, will you let the machine dictate the output and leave yourself acting as nothing more than a moral crumple zone? Or will you stand at the sovereign gate and force your creative mandate through the sweat of the brow and claim the true magic of authorship? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep orchestrating, and I'll catch you next time.